Listen carefully, because you won't understand the full depth of this story unless you stay with me all the way to the end. What you think you know about ABBA and their glittering fame is only half the truth. The real story begins in 1945, the year Björn Ulvaeus was born in Gothenburg, Sweden. His parents lived a modest life in a cramped apartment, ration coupons still in place after the war. Yet even in those humble surroundings, little Björn was already humming melodies at the age of 5. Music was his escape. By the time his family moved to the coastal town of Västervik in 1951, Björn's fascination had only grown stronger. Winters there were long and isolating, but that solitude became fuel for his dreams. In 1956, when he was given a simple guitar, everything changed. Imagine an 11-year-old boy alone in his room, teaching himself chords, drawing inspiration from the raw rhythm of skiffle music and the rebellious sound of Elvis. While his classmates mocked him for being different, Björn clung to those secret nighttime radio sessions with Radio Luxembourg, hiding under the covers just to soak in forbidden rock and roll. At just 12, he built his own amplifier from spare parts. He wasn't only playing music, he was inventing, chasing a sound he could call his own. But with passion came fear. On stage, the shy boy often froze, once forgetting lyrics in front of a crowd. The panic attacks that started then would follow him well into his ABBA years. Yet despite that fear, he kept going, driven by something larger than himself. And then, in 1963, everything took a sharp turn. Björn won a national contest, joining the West Bay Singers, later renamed the Hootenanny Singers. That moment lit the first spark of destiny. Stay with me till the end, because the story of ABBA is not just about music, it's about heartbreak, resilience, and how rejection can fuel greatness. After joining the Hootenanny Singers in 1963, Björn was already on his way to becoming a household name in Sweden. They toured tirelessly, playing parks and small towns, their beat-up van carrying dreams bigger than their paychecks. By 1966, their song Gabrielle became a hit at home, though it stirred controversy abroad when accused of copying a Russian tune. Even so, Björn's name began to spread, and something even more important was about to happen: his meeting with Benny Andersson. Björn and Benny's partnership became legendary. They wrote songs constantly, sometimes in cars while traveling between shows. Their musical connection was instant. Björn himself described it as love at first sight. But for music, in 1969, while touring, Björn's life shifted again. He met Agnetha Faltskog, a rising star in Sweden with a voice that could melt through any wall. Their chemistry was undeniable, and within 2 years, they were married. Soon, with Benny's partner Annie-Frid Lyngstad, better known as Frida, the four of them would form a group that seemed destined for something bigger. But their beginning was anything but glamorous. Their first single, People Need Love in 1972, barely scraped the charts outside Sweden. Critics mocked their sound as too European and too soft. Rejected by labels in the UK and US, it looked like the dream might collapse before it began. Yet Björn refused to quit. Instead, he pushed for a new name, something short, sharp, unforgettable. Against mockery and even the protests of a fish company that owned the name, ABBA was born. What once sounded like a joke became the foundation of music history. Don't skip, because this is where the story turns from rejection to glory. By 1973, ABBA faced mockery, doubts, and even laughter from record executives. Yet it all led to one stage, one night, and one performance that changed music forever. On April 6, 1974, in Brighton, they walked onto the Eurovision Song Contest stage dressed in glittering costumes, with Björn holding a silver star-shaped guitar. The song was Waterloo. The energy, the style, the confidence, it was unlike anything Europe had seen before. And when the final votes came in, ABBA had won. Sweden had its first Eurovision victory, and the world had found its next global sensation. But success didn't come without chaos. As Waterloo launched them into the spotlight, the band suddenly faced the pressures of fame. In Australia, SOS dominated charts for 7 weeks straight, selling 500,000 copies. Then came Mamma Mia, even bigger, crossing the 1 million mark. Crowds in Sydney broke through hotel lobbies, screaming for just a glimpse of them. Agnetha, overwhelmed by stalkers and threats, hid in her room, battling anxiety while the world demanded more. Still, Björn kept pushing. In 1976, Dancing Queen broke barriers. It wasn't just another song. It was their crowning moment, reaching #1 in the United States, the UK, and 13 other countries. It became ABBA's only American chart topper, a track so powerful that even Frida, hearing it for the first time, broke down in tears at its beauty. Their album Arrival sold 1 million copies in its first week, proving ABBA was unstoppable. Yet behind the glitter and gold, pressure was building. Björn's lyrics started reflecting therapy sessions, struggles, and emotions that would later drive some of ABBA's most personal work. The world saw perfection, but cracks were forming beneath. Listen closely, because what looked like endless success for ABBA was hiding cracks beneath the surface. By the late 1970s, the group was playing sold-out arenas across North America and beyond. Yet behind the flashing lights, Björn and Agnetha's marriage was falling apart. In 1980, Björn poured all of his pain into one song. The Winner Takes It All. And the cruel twist? Agnetha was the one who had to sing it. She later admitted it was one of the hardest moments of her life, standing in the studio, giving voice to lyrics written by her ex-husband about their own heartbreak. But the tension didn't stop there. ABBA's 1980 album Super Trooper reflected their exhaustion. Björn admitted he felt completely alone, even while performing in front of thousands. The record broke sales records, over 1 million advance orders in the UK alone, but the personal struggles were becoming impossible to ignore. Then came The Visitors in 1981, a darker, more serious album unlike anything they had made before. The lyrics were filled with themes of divorce, loneliness, and fear. In fact, the Soviet Union banned it in 1982, calling it too suggestive. Sales were still strong, millions of copies worldwide, but the energy in the studio had faded. By December 1982, ABBA made what would become their final live television performance. They never announced a breakup outright, but everyone could feel the end. Both couples had divorced, the creative spark was gone, and just like that, ABBA went silent. But Björn wasn't done. In 1984, he and Benny launched the musical Chess with Tim Rice. The hit One Night in Bangkok stormed charts around the world, and I Know Him So Well became the best-selling female duet in UK history. Even without ABBA, Björn was shaping the sound of a new era. Don't miss this part, because the story of Björn Ulvaeus didn't end with ABBA's breakup. It transformed into something unexpected. After ABBA quietly stepped away in 1982, many thought the magic was gone forever. But Björn reinvented himself. Together with Benny, he created the musical Chess in 1984. Its songs became global hits. One Night in Bangkok stormed charts, and I Know Him So Well became the best-selling female duet in UK history. Even though Broadway rejected it after a short run, the show later became a cult classic. The legacy of ABBA never faded. In 1999, Björn co-created Mamma Mia, a musical built around ABBA's songs. No one expected it to succeed, yet it became a worldwide phenomenon, earning billions and later turning into blockbuster films. Millions of people who weren't even alive during ABBA's heyday fell in love with their music. Björn had turned personal pain, especially his experiences of love and divorce, into something that resonated with audiences everywhere. Over time, Björn also focused on building a careful, stable life. He invested in technology, real estate, and even eco-friendly housing projects. But he wasn't only about money. He helped open the ABBA Museum in Stockholm, giving fans the chance to step into the world they adored. With over 1 million visitors in its first years, it became a symbol of ABBA's lasting power. Then, decades later, something extraordinary happened. In 2021, ABBA returned with Voyage, their first studio album in 40 years. It was followed by the groundbreaking virtual concert, ABBA Voyage, which drew millions and revived their music for a new generation. For Björn, it was more than a comeback. It was healing. He admitted it helped him through loneliness, giving him fresh purpose. After everything, fame, heartbreak, silence, and renewal, Björn's story proves that sometimes, the music really does last forever.